Coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles, now a deep dive study into how the Philadelphia Eagles can fix their struggling offense. Nick Sirianni said here on Tuesday that no offensive staff changes will be made. Brian Johnson is still going to be the play caller. Philadelphia's offense has definitely sputtered over the last 2 weeks, and all throughout the 2023 season, they have been mightily inconsistent. Today, we're going to try to solve some of those issues. First, though, if you think the Eagles can turn it around as a collective football unit, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I explained on Monday's show that I still have confidence in this team. If you think that the Eagles are doomed, though, and the last 2 games have exposed them, and this is who they are, I want you to comment why. Let's start off with this. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles' issues on the offensive side of the football are fixable. I think that the sample size is pretty long with Nick Sirianni, some of the players, and the athletes on this team, where I think that these issues can be rectified. And I think that Philadelphia has the coaches as well as the personnel to get it done. First of all, you look at the numbers that the Eagles have put forward during this 10-3 start. And I know that in Philadelphia, the sky is always falling after a loss, but Philadelphia, ladies and gentlemen, is 10-3. They're 6th in points per game, 4th in points per drive, 8th in yards per game, 3rd on first downs. Their third down offense is also 3rd. When they get into the red zone, they have struggled over the last couple of weeks, but they are converting those red zone trips into touchdowns, the 10th best among 32 teams in the NFL. Turnovers are an issue. They are 18th. And yes, going against the Dallas Cowboys, no offensive touchdowns for the first time under head coach Nick Sirianni. Let's get to these fixes here. I think the most obvious fix for Philadelphia is for this offense to become less predictable. And this falls on the plate of Nick Sirianni. After all, he is an offensive mind. Jeffrey Lurie has hired offensive head coaches, Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, and Nick Sirianni. So this falls on Sirianni here. And multiple players have told former Eagles insider Derek Gunn, who used to work for NBC Sports Philadelphia, now he's on Jacob Media, that the Eagles' offense is very predictable for opponents. Some of the players said you look at the Eagles' pass routes compared to the Cowboys' pass routes from Sunday Night Football. And the Eagles' passing routes, according to what I believe to be the wide receivers here, take too long to develop downfield. And that's why Jalen Hurts has had all day in the pocket, but nowhere to throw the football. And eventually, the pass rush is able to get home because nobody's able to get open because there's a lack of creativity from this offensive coaching staff. And the Eagles players also anonymously said that the Dallas Cowboys get the ball out, their shit out, very, very quickly. Whereas the Eagles, to my previous point, do not. There has to be more creativity with play calls and play design. And my goodness, in today's NFL, can Nick Sirianni please implement a little bit more pre-snap motion? More on that in a moment. The Eagles rank last in motion rate at 9.6%. And some of the top, most innovative offenses in the National Football League are using a ton of motion, pre-snap and at the snap. It gets you an advantage. And when you have playmakers like DeAndre Swift and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, why isn't Nick Sirianni, why aren't the Eagles putting those players on the move to try to gain some mismatches and exploit those mismatches? When you go back and look at Devontae Smith at Alabama when he won the Heisman Trophy, he was on the move pre-snap all of the time. Now, Philadelphia's lined him up out of the slot, and that's a good start, but they have to expand on some of the modern nuances of the NFL offensive type of philosophies that we see league-wide today. Because when you look at the most motion used in the NFL and the least motion used in the NFL, where do you see Philadelphia? They are dead last, and they are dead last by a wide margin. And when you look at the 5 teams that utilize motion the least, what types of teams are you looking at? The Carolina Panthers are the worst team in football. Arizona Cardinals are one of the worst teams in football. The Cleveland Browns have been a stagnant offense all throughout this year and have dealt with a lot of quarterback injuries, and now Joe Flacco comes in from his couch, and over the last couple of weeks, he's played well, but with him at quarterback, he's not a pre-snap motion type of QB, and the Philadelphia Eagles using motion 9.6% of the time. But then you look at some of the more innovative offenses with some of the more innovative and creative offensive minds. Mike McDaniel, the Miami Dolphins, 65% to the Eagles' 9.6%. Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams, 43%. Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. That presented a lot of mismatches against Philadelphia 2 weeks ago, 36.9%. And then you have Matt LaFleur, who's a part of that Kyle Shanahan tree, and Ben Johnson, who's probably the most sought-after coordinator on the offensive side of the ball to get a head coaching job this year, coming in at number 5. And what is notable is that Shane Steichen used to be the Eagles offensive coordinator for the last couple of years, and now he is the Indianapolis Colts head coach. Where do the Indianapolis Colts rank on that list of motion? Number 11. So what that tells me, this is a Nick Sirianni philosophical problem. And Nick Sirianni doesn't believe that for this offense to be successful, that they have to utilize pre-snap motion. But I think for Philadelphia and all of the weapons that they have on that side of the ball, there are a bevy of them. And that's why this Eagles offense's struggles have been so frustrating, is because they're too good to not be able to score a damn touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys. I think Sirianni has to look in the mirror and start to make some adjustments. The fact that Steichen is using motion 11th most, and he was with Philadelphia last year, when last year they were bottom 5 as well, all fingers point to Nick Sirianni here. Now, I believe today's show is very informative, and that's what we aim to do every single day here on Eagles Now. If you want more Eagles chatter like this, we got you with Eagles shows every single day, and that's why we're approaching 68,000 subscribers, a little more than 500 people away from that milestone. Let's do it for Jordan Mailata. Good day, mate. Hit that sub button. Number 2, I think Philadelphia has to run the football a little bit more. These stats are pretty notable here. Philadelphia under Nick Sirianni, 30-6 when running the ball 23+ times. The Philadelphia Eagles are 3-8 when they run it under Nick Sirianni, less than 23 times. That is not a knock on Jalen Hurts, but when this offense is more balanced, it becomes less predictable. When you're using more motion, you become less predictable and harder to defend. So all of these things, I hope that Nick Sirianni and this staff are talking about these things inside the NovaCare complex. Run the ball more on that. Eagles have the 6th highest rushing success rate out of the pony formation with 2 running backs on the field. Yet, Philadelphia, despite having the 6th highest success rate out of pony, only runs that package the 2nd lowest time as far as attempts in the NFL. And also, this Eagles offensive line has to be better. They have great personnel with their front 5. But the Eagles' offensive line is 18th in blown block rate over the last 4 weeks, and they are not playing up to their standard. So I talked about Nick Sirianni just moments ago, and believe me, we're only getting started here on the show. Are you worried about him as the head coach of the Eagles? Type W for worried, C for confident. Let me know right now down in the comment section. I want to let you know about Factor and the deal that they have to offer for the Bird Gang everywhere. 50% off America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, where these meals get delivered straight to your door. Use the code EaglesChat50 so that you can see what I'm talking about. What I love about Factor, the variety of options, but also the quality of food. I just ran a half marathon on Friday, 13.1 miles. I have a running streak that is well north of 200 days. Used to have a running streak earlier this year that I wrapped up at 300 days, and I need to be able to fuel up with some healthy food that doesn't have me feeling like crap. And that's why I like Factor. I also like all of the types of different meals that they have to offer. If you want to go heavy on protein, you can. If you're more going the keto route, you can go that route. Or if you don't eat meat and you're a vegetarian, there are vegetarian meals as well. They have smoothies that they can include, and they have meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So get started today. You pick your prepaid meals. They are prepped and cooked to perfection. You heat them up and enjoy them. One more time, factormeals.com/EaglesChat50. That link is available for you down in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. How to fix this Eagles offense? Well, we talked about running the ball more, some more pre-snap motion. This just comes down to playing sloppy because the Philadelphia Eagles have played sloppy over the last 5 games. 9 fumbles and 2 interceptions over the last 5 outings. And this is a coaching staff that always preaches ball security. They have signs in the practice facility, ball security. Yet Philadelphia has not done that. And when you think about what happened against the Cowboys, if you go back and look at the tape, not all was that bad, even though the Eagles didn't score an offensive touchdown. A big reason they didn't score an offensive touchdown, Jalen Hurts fumble in plus territory. A.J. Brown fumble in plus territory. Devontae Smith, also a fumble on Dallas' side of the field. So when you turn the football over, teams in the NFL win games between 70 and 80% of the time. And in turn, it halts and stops your offensive momentum right in its tracks. It gives the opponent momentum and juice. And it takes the opportunities to put points on the board, off the board. What's also an issue is that when you turn the football over, you're having to play in a lot of these close games, and you're playing with fire when you have to come back from all of these halftime and second half deficits. Point differential is an issue for this Eagles team this year. And this point differential is not a point differential that a 10-3 team usually has. So Philadelphia has gotten a little bit lucky. I don't think that always coming through in the clutch is lucky. But to be 10-3 with this point differential, Philadelphia is a little bit lucky. They're only plus 21. At this time last year, for instance, Philadelphia had games wrapped up at halftime. They were plus 138. At this time in 2004, Philadelphia was at plus 162. At this time in 2002, they were at plus 140. Those are all years in which Philadelphia was able to make it to an NFC championship game. And we're not even talking about that number being close. It is so far off, and that is not sustainable. And if you stop turning the football over, the Eagles will be able to build upon that number a little bit more. Next up, this coaching staff, Brian Johnson as the play caller, Nick Sirianni as the play designer. This is his offense, ladies and gentlemen. They have to make Jalen Hurts' life a little bit easier. Hurts has the second most difficult throws on average among all quarterbacks in the NFL. His expected completion percentage of 61.6% is also the second lowest in the NFL. He is not, to translate that, throwing into wide open windows. He is having to over and over and over again throw into tight windows. Now, I think there are a couple of reasons for this. It's the play design, it's the lack of creativity, it's the lack of route trees for these wide receivers. As we're about to talk about, they're not running a lot of crossers, they're not running a lot of running back screens, which is an open window and a high completion throw. And everything for Hurts right now seems to be outside of the numbers down the sideline. And when Hurts is having to do that, the defense is really having to cover only a small percentage of the field, and those require tight window throws because the safeties are always coming over. The Eagles are 8th in yards per attempt and 6th in success rate when throwing between the numbers, but they are 30th in the percentage of passes thrown in between the numbers. So as Shane Haff, give him a follow on Twitter, points out, because some of his analysis with this Eagles offense is fantastic on Twitter. Shout out to him. Life gets easier for a defense when they don't have to worry about covering 60% of the field. And right now, teams are covering about 40% of the field outside of the numbers toward the sideline. And those sideline throws, very tight window throws. And some of my ideas in just making throws in between the numbers. You have one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Dallas Goedert running down the seam. There aren't a lot of linebackers who want to defend him. There aren't a lot of slot nickel cornerbacks who are able to have the height to defend him. Safeties having to try to come over the top to hit Dallas Goedert, who's a big dude. They don't want that smoke all the time. I want to see more crossers from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You get the ball in their hands. And we saw 2 weeks ago what Kyle Shanahan was able to do with Deebo Samuel and with Devontae Smith, wide receiver screens, crossing routes. And when you run some of those crossers, you're able to really cross up some of the defenders because you're crossing the face of a couple of defenders and they're not sure which way to go. And then in turn, not only do you get the ball in space, in stride to Brown and Devontae Smith to pick up yards after the catch, it's an easier throw for Jalen Hurts. You can send the slot wide receiver right down the numbers. And how about running backs out of the backfield? My goodness. You know, me growing up watching Eagles football, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, even Chip Kelly did this for a little while with the wheel routes, right? Can we see some more passes to some of these running backs? How about DeAndre Swift fakes a block, leaks through the offensive line, he goes down the center of the field. Like, these are things that the Eagles should be doing and are not doing right now. As far as running back screens, let's hit on that. The Eagles are 4th in the NFL in success rate on running back screens. So this has been a successful play for Philadelphia. But they don't call a lot of screen plays. They are 28th in usage. As far as running some more slants, that's another way to target the middle area of the field. Eagles are 7th in success rate on slants, but they rank 22nd in usage. Can the Eagles run some more curls? The Eagles rank 1st in success rate on curls, but they rank 28th in usage. That's why I said off the rip that these changes can be made and these issues are fixable for Philadelphia's offense, but they better get to it fast. 4 games left, a month sample size to get your shit in gear and get ready for the playoffs. I hope to see some of those changes against Seattle this upcoming week. Let's hear from you. What is the biggest change that you would make to the Philadelphia Eagles offense? Let me know down in the comment section. As always, we appreciate you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.